under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to start right out with the first one, Norman Butler Art Pond Road. Oh, you're Norman?
I'm Norman Butler. I live at 63 Pond Road.
Louder, Norm. Here.
I'll speak a little louder. I live at 63 Pond Road. Year-round, my wife and I do. We're here about, first I want to thank you for letting us speak tonight and put this issue on the table. There are several of us here that want to make some statements. Not very long statements, just brief statements, each one sort of about a different thing, a different aspect of the issue that we're looking at Pond Road, about the maintenance. So first is going to be Hope John, and I'll just let her get to it.
Yeah, okay. And I'm at 247 Pond Road. And my family has owned property on Pond Road for close to 100 years. The town of Wakefield has always maintained this road. Signs were posted stating that Wakefield would not be responsible for the condition of the Pond Road from December to April. The reasonable expectation that these signs implied was that Pond Road is maintained from May to December. The first week of July this year, 2018, the signs were taken down. There was no notification to the residents on Pond Road that this was being done. But without basic road maintenance, the conditions of Pond Road have become not only unpleasant, but certainly hazardous. It is a reasonable expectation for the many taxpayers along Pond Road to expect basic maintenance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes. My name is Virginia Morris. I live at 287 Old Bulkhead Road. I'm going to speak on behalf of my brother who lives on Pond Road because he is not well enough to be here tonight. And this is a letter that he sent to the selectmen, so you have received this letter. The reason I'm reading the letter is because in your agenda under correspondence, I don't see letters that have been sent to the selectmen as listed as correspondence, so I'm reading his letter. Gentlemen and ladies, I'm sending this letter because I am very concerned about the condition of Pond Road. I've been coming to Level Lake for 85 years. My grandparents had a cottage on Old Bulkhead Road. My sisters currently own property on Old Bulkhead Road. I live at 281 Pond Road. Never in my 85 years have I seen Pond Road in such a deplorable condition. In particular, the broken culvert is almost in front of my cottage, and much of the runoff crosses my property and empties into the lake. My concern extends beyond the damage to the lake. In order to get to our waterfront, we need to cross the road, and my children spend much time playing there. There is a real possibility that as traffic lurches down this road, cars could threaten the safety of the children. Also, another issue is the failure of mail delivery. I have a medical condition that requires specific medication. While I was at our cottage, I needed this prescription, and my pharmacy overnighted it to the Sanbornville post office. When the package did not come, I called the post office, and they told me they would not deliver it because the road was so bad. Not only was my health endangered, but federal government service was interrupted. This fact is not to be overlooked. I also believe the poor condition of the road can lead to an increase in home insurance and devaluation of my property. I hope you will address this problem at your next meeting, Ogden Morse, 56 Sunset Hill Road, Reading, Connecticut.
Those letters are on.
Yeah, I have them. And consent?
I'm Carol Avery. I have property at 88 Pond Road, but I am reading a letter from the Taskers who live at 319 Pond Road. Dear Selectmen, we have owned a cabin at 319 Pond Road since 1974. We have loved this area and watched Sanbornville grow and prosper over the last 44 years. We have especially appreciated the care of the year-round and summer people for Level Lake, Sanbornville's special treasure. We have followed the town's increasing attention to water quality, notably by supporting the Lake Host program to keep invasive plants out of the lake and road maintenance to minimize phosphorus runoff into the lake that stimulates excessive weed growth. Pete has been a volunteer lake host and weed watcher. We have personally made changes to our lakefront to address concerns about the negative effects of road runoff. We have been proud to be in a town with a planning board and zoning guide that support protecting the lakes. A portion of Pond Road follows lakefront for about 3/4 of a mile along Level Lake. The cabins on Pond Road are in Residential Zone 2 Shorefront District for zoning. The zoning guide for the town states that a primary purpose of this district is the preservation of the quality of water in the lakes and ponds. In the annual report of the Town of Wakefield 2017, under Article 9, it is noted that 72% of our tax revenues come from waterfront property. It is in our best interest to watch the lakes ourselves. The culvert under Pond Road near 304 Pond has served to minimize runoff from Pond Road. That culvert collapsed due to aging and greatly increasing runoff from the watershed leading down from Oak Hill Road this past winter that eroded away the earth around the culvert, compromising its support. The temporary fix of dumping gravel into the breach left by removal of the damaged culvert no longer directs that natural watershed runoff under the road surface. The result is that natural runoff is flooding the road, causing erosion of the road surface at the repair, and flow down the road carrying phosphorus-laden gravel into the lake. The recent decision of Wakefield Town leadership to reclassify Pond Road as Class 6 road and to refuse to maintain the road this year is inconsistent with positive attention the town has paid to protecting the significant lake asset. We request that you reconsider your decision and make good on the town's long-standing commitment to the lake's health by 1. Returning the classification of Pond Road to Class 5, 2. Replacing the failed culvert, and 3. Resuming the seasonal maintenance from May to November that had been performed for more than 40 years. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Cordially yours, Peter and Antoinette Tasker.
Thank you.
I have a question. Who took the signs down
I have no idea.
and who authorized it?
I have
The
no
highway
idea.
department, after we found out that it was never legally made, during the summer cottages,
All right, so when was that?
the first week of July roughly.
Because I've been here since the last election and nobody ever talks to us about that, taking the signs down and making this decision until after we
I
found
didn't know
out.
they were done.
So my opinion is, I know everybody else wants to read their letters, but I think we should, I don't know why it's changed, but I think the signs should be back up and they should grade the road.
Who's next?
I'm next, but if we're done, I don't need to do it. I did write a letter, I assume you got it
Yes.
also.
Yep.
I'm Bob Morse. I live at 287 Old Bulkhead Road, but I access it off Pond Road. There's no other access. There's a giant hill that I don't have a
Yep.
vehicle that will quite do that. I did write a letter, but I'm not going to read it. I just want to make a couple of points. Pond Road to me, and I've served on my own town planning board for years and years and wrestled with road issues. Pond Road is different from a lot of Class 6 roads in that it's a connecting road. It connects Brackett Road to Oak Hill, and so you can get both to Salmonville over it, or you can get to Acton and over to Milton Mills or off to Acton, Maine. So I think it makes Pond Road a special case of a narrow, seasonally maintained road, and lots of service people use it from property managers, carpenters, electricians, to people with heavier trucks like septic system, utility people come in, tree cutters and all this sort of stuff. So the road takes a little bit of...
Cable companies come in.
Cable companies, actually, the second point I wanted to make is a little complicated, and it's only from sitting on the planning board that I venture to do this, is that Pond Road, in a way, helps Salmonville build its tax base in a real sense. If you don't have growth, if people don't build things that add to your tax base, you get it every year in an increased tax rate. And Pond Road is actually used by that. I have a picture of some construction vehicles. There was been some homes built over there, and these trucks come over the road, and it's fine. It's fine if the road is in reasonable shape, and it's not a hazard to anyone, and it actually helps the town because you're getting an extra couple $100,000 real increase in your tax base from somebody building a home over there. So I didn't start this, but I happened to come into town hall. I just thought I was being a thoughtful summer resident, and I said I haven't seen any trucks around to fill the potholes. And this was in July 16th, and I spoke to one of the clerks here, Toni, and she was very helpful in linking me up with a note to the road agent. And I basically said we need potholes filled in a few areas, and a culvert that was damaged from water flow in these heavy trucks and evidently disappeared, and maybe some crushed stone to make a temporary ford. And I found out that that's exactly what was done. Somebody had, in place of putting a culvert in, a really good quick fix would be some crushed stone, and the water would mostly flow through it. If it's really strong, it's going to go right by and right down the street and into the lake. Okay, so I was pleased that there was a response. I did get a call from the town bond, but they said there wasn't anything they could do at the moment. They were trying to evaluate whether or not to maintain the road or not. And I think we're only talking about a couple of truckloads of gravel to fill the worst of pots, and actually maybe a little more crushed rock where the ford is right now, because it is washing away pretty heavily on one side onto good roads. Thank you.
Thanks. Ralph? Oops, I'm sorry.
All right, I'll yield to Craig.
Okay.
My name's Craig Raleigh. I'm president of the Level Lake Association. And please, at the table.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd just like to say that we're in our 53rd year. We've got about 125 dues-paying members. Our focus has continued to evolve over the years, where we're very, very much focused on the quality of the lake. That is manifested by the fact of our lake house program someone mentioned. That's where we have people stationed at the boat launch inspecting boats from Memorial Day through Labor Day, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. We also partner with UNH to test the waters, the chemical composition of the waters. That's been pretty good over the years, for 29 years. However, phosphorus is the most responsible phosphorus has not been a positive trend. And phosphorus in the lake is responsible for growth of algae and plants and whatnot. And if we have a bloom, it makes swimming much more difficult and just not attracting water. And the fact is that road runoffs frequently contribute to the introduction of phosphorus to the lake. So I'd like to simply summarize by thanking you for your time and effort, and we hope that you will join with the Level Lake Association in our efforts to keep our special lake special. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ralph.
I think it's critical that the culvert was actually replaced and put back in there. And I will donate the culvert if there's an effort by the town to assist Pond Road residents to do that.
Good evening. My name's Tom Farini, 332 Pond Road. We've only been there 50 years. We can't compete with you. But I would say that having some experience in government of this type, I see the chief here. One concern that has been alluded to but hasn't been fully set forth before you is first responders in large rural towns have to get where they need to go quickly. We have elderly on those roads, and potholes make it challenging. If you want a good fire and rescue and police response time, I think that helps. And I would add that if you think about what it costs to take a grader, stop it at one end of Pond Road, go all the way around Level Lake on 109, and come around to the other side so you can grade the other road, I think it would take less time just to send it through. In many years, for the many years that I recall the maintenance, oftentimes it wasn't even an addition of material to the road, it was just sending the grade. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Nobody else? Whoops, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Norman Butler again. I guess that's probably it for our statements. Thank you again for listening. We hope we brought up some good points and some ideas for you.
So how do we go about going back to the way it was?
First off, we're going to hear from Rick Sager about the research he's done.
Hi, I'm Rick Sager, town attorney. I've done some research into this, and this is not a Selectmen versus Pond Road residents issue. It's just doing the right thing the right way. So I won't go through everything, but I've researched, but based upon the research, it appears that that section of Pond Road is indeed a Class 6 road, which means it's town-owned but not town-maintained. Back in the early 90s, 91, 92, there was discussion among the selectmen, and there were a number of meetings about this, where their intent was to make it what is called a highway to summer cottages, which is a classification of a road where the town agrees to maintain it during the summer months and not during the winter months. And unfortunately, what the selectmen did at that time was not legal as far as following New Hampshire law. Nonetheless, there are certain things that the selectmen can do, and I have a recommendation for how to solve this problem once and for all. Right now, the road is, and I'll just indicate, you've indicated that there's been maintenance by the town, and that's probably true to an extent. I'm not sure that, based upon what I've seen, that there has been a great deal of maintenance. The town selectmen have a right to maintain Class 6 roads, which is what this section is, to a limited extent, and I think that's what you have seen. My understanding is that the road isn't plowed by the town during the winter time, and that you've hired your own, if there's an association. Is there an association for Pond Road that hires somebody to plow it?
No.
Okay, so,
And we don't know who does plow that one section that was in question.
okay.
Someone lives down there year-round, they have a plow.
So they plow it and don't charge anybody and
We think it may be ice fishermen.
okay,
Not even residents.
That aren't residents.
okay. Fine. So what I found out during my research, which has been fairly extensive, is that there has been no what is called in New Hampshire law as a layout of the road as a Class 5 road. That requires either a vote of the town meeting, or it requires a petition to the selectmen where they hold public hearings and then decide whether or not to lay out the road as a Class 5 road, which means it's town-owned and town-maintained. There has never been, there's a way of getting a road established as a highway to summer cottages, But that requires a petition to the selectmen, and again, public hearing, vote of the selectmen to lay it out as a highway to summer cottages, which means it would be maintained by the town during the summer. Culverts, gravel, that type of thing. There has been, as I think we all know, there's been zero maintenance of this road in the wintertime, which is essentially plowing in the wintertime. So, what do we do? I'll read from my letter a little bit if you're okay with that. It's attorney-client privilege, but I think that you guys are okay with that. To address the long-term situation, which is why I think we're all here, is that residents or a resident needs to submit a petition to the selectmen asking to lay out that portion of Pond Road as a highway to summer cottages. If the selectmen want, I can assist folks to submit a proper petition. We need to designate where it starts, we need to designate where it ends, and make clear as to what you're looking for from the Board of Selectmen. The selectmen can do a limited amount of maintenance on a Class 6 road, which is what you have. The problem from the town's perspective is if the town starts spending a lot of money on a Class 6 road, it can become a Class 5 road, which of course the rest of the townspeople don't vote on, and that's something that I recommend the selectmen avoid. So, it sounds like there's some maintenance that needs to be done on Pond Road. I haven't been down there. I meant to get down there, but I just haven't been able to.
Good luck.
I got one foot on the water,
I was gonna ask him a question.
Fine.
Okay.
Excuse me, I got hurt on the water and I fractured 3 of my ribs just a few weeks ago. And I literally could not sit in a car and go down that road. It was horrible.
I've been down that road 4 or 5 times. I
Not
have no
broken.
problem.
No,
No problem. There's, in front
It's
of
painful.
304, there was some potholes. That was the worst part of the road that I found. But anyway, I'm not saying that you didn't have a problem, but we need to listen to Rick and let him finish. It's very rude to interrupt.
So, there is a procedure that's available to fix it, it just, before the selectmen start spending other taxpayers' money, including your taxpayers' money, on a road that's a Class 6 road, which means it's not maintained by the town, there's just a proper procedure that needs to go through. So, sorry, Ben.
I wanted to ask about the signs.
Okay.
So, do you think those signs, I'm not even sure what the signs said. What did they say?
They were official signs for a Class 5 road to cottages, and they stated that it was not maintained between the dates of December 10th and April 10th. And when I moved in there, I highly expected that meant that was a Class 5 road. That was my expectation. And it was maintained.
Excuse me?
Your definition of maintenance may not be like mine, but it was maintained well enough to travel, considering what kind of road it was. So I disagree with you, Rick, on what you think maintenance is. I guess that's the point I'll make about that.
Does anybody here from Pond Road have a picture of, I know we have a picture of the sign, and that sign also has a number to it, whether it's a warrant article that was passed, but I know that there was, I don't know if it was there was a statue on it.
Yeah. So can I ask you a question?
And I'm just wondering if
Ask a
that,
question.
Fine.
What's that? Can I?
Yeah.
So if it's been maintained already for the past 30 years, then it was already classified as a Class 5 road, right? And to take the signs down without approval, without these people knowing, is basically just changing it back to a Class 6 road without telling anybody. Because I know it's been maintained, because when I used to do it.
But if it's a classified, it would be maintained, it would be plowed in the winter. It was never a classified, it was a summer cottages and just done the summer.
But it's been maintained for the past
Actually,
30 years,
it would be
25 years.
It's not been maintained for the last 2
Well, well, I know for a fact they put down calcium to keep the dust down. They've,
every year. Because I was just
Last
on
year.
myself that it didn't get done the last 2, nothing was done in those roads for the last 2 years.
That's untrue.
That's not true. That's not true. It was definitely taken care of last year.
Yes.
Those signs
Thank you.
are at the town barn.
Oh, they are?
Beside it.
Okay.
I can only tell you what my research has shown. I don't live on Pond Road, and I sympathize with you folks, and my job is to make sure that whatever is done according to New Hampshire law. So there is an avenue to take to get this to become a highway to summer cottages, and I think that's what you folks are looking for, and that can happen.
And does that letter for a petition to the selectmen need to be done by a resident?
Yes.
That letter needs to be done by a resident of the town, not a summer resident, but a resident of the town.
She's asking if you can register voter.
Oh, a registered voter.
Excuse me, yes. thank
The
you.
statute doesn't say voter, it says resident, so I would, if I were you, I would get as many people to sign it as possible, because strength in numbers.
So that really needs to be a written request.
Yes.
For, call it a highway to summer cottages, because actually what we're doing here tonight really is that petition to maintain it. But we need to call it a highway to summer cottages with a written letter.
And on the petition, the people have to print their name and sign it.
Just so we can read them all.
How many signatures do you need?
25
25 residents.
Residents.
Well, that,
Is that still?
From what I understand, a petition to the town to be placed on the warrant needs to be signed by 25 registered voters in the town.
You're
But not all
absolutely
on
right
that.
but
No,
we're
just
not talking
25.
about placing an article on the warrant.
This is
We're
our-
talking because the selectmen have the authority to do this layout. There's more than one way to do a layout. It's either going to the warrant with a petition, as you say, Ralph, 25 or more registered voters, but that isn't going to really work in this situation. They really need to come to the selectmen and ask for this portion to be laid out as a highway to summer cottages. Okay?
Thank you.
Pam, did you have something?
I was questioning your research. Was it strictly legal? Did you take a ride down Pond Road just to see what we were asking?
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't go down Pond Road
Okay.
because that wouldn't come into my decision
Okay,
making.
so it was strictly the law books.
Well, the law books and the information that was supplied to me by the town and the highway department. Yes.
Ma'am?
Yes, just in researching the town road, the Pond Road issue, I was curious if anybody consulted with the maintenance department to get an estimate of what the actual cost might be to grade and fill in the potholes in that small section?
I didn't, but from my analysis, it doesn't really make any difference because it's not a money issue, it's a legal issue.
Did you get her name? No. What was your name, ma'am?
Marty Ortiz.
You get that? Yeah. Okay.
I was wondering, Hope John, Pond Road, 247. I was wondering when you say highway to cottages, it seems like ours is more of a throughway from Oak Hill to Brackett. It isn't a highway to just. So,
That's the wording from the statute. They call it a highway to summer cottages. And I don't like the wording either. It's not really a highway. It's
no,
a-
I'm not concerned about the highway. It's just, it isn't just to the summer cottages. It's through. It's a throughway.
Right. It's an old statute. That's what they call it. you know, I'm not gonna defend the wording, it's just what I have to work with.
Just one more point, if I may. NHMA Municipal Association, can they be talked to about this? Maybe they have some, I'm sure they have some precedents for some of this. Although it seems like our little issue is like just on the fringe of every little, of every part of it, but have they been consulted?
We did consult the periodical they put out, A Hard Road to Travel. They encapsulate the regs on highways and roads. Our highway department did provide copies from some of that to us.
John?
That petition ought to be just for the people who own property on that road.
It's a town issue.
Well, I mean, that's the part they want to fix, so that's why I'm just saying that. I mean, you can't just have somebody from Woodman put a petition with it, I wouldn't think.
We need 25 residents of the town, of voters, of registered voters.
You don't need 25. You need 25 to get it onto the annual town meeting warrant. You could have a petition submitted by one person to this board, but my recommendation is, you know, have more than one.
Another clarification, if it's one, if you just need one person to submit it, and that person is a registered voter in the town, then must the others be as well?
I just looked the statute up, it didn't say anything about registered.
Again, it just says resident. So I think anybody can petition the selectmen. You know, if you have a cottage on the road, I think this other gentleman's talking to you.
Yes.
I did a little research,
Your
just
name, please?
Carol Dyer, 86 Pond Road. A little research online, the New Hampshire State Government Highways, and I have a question before I say what I read about. Are all roads titled Highway to Summer Cottages considered a level 6? Because what I read was that a level 6, you almost think of it like as a dead end kind of a road, that it's not a throughway from one location to another. And also a highway, it was very clear that it said a level 6 road is one that has not been maintained for 5 years. So I think everyone here agrees that last summer this road was maintained. And so I know we're not really asking, and you're not encouraging the town to have this road maintained year-round, but I'm kind of questioning really the classification in any event as a level 6 road, because it has been maintained up until this year, and it certainly is a throughway from one location to another, people getting out to 109 and all the vehicles that everyone has said pass through that road.
That was a lot. I'm not sure what the question is.
How does this come to be declared a level 6 road when one of the main qualifications is a level 6 road has not been maintained by the town for 5 years? That's not the case in this case.
There are a number of ways for a Class 6 road to come into existence as a Class 6 road. One is by action of the selectmen, another is by action of the town meeting, and a Class 6 road can become a Class 5 road if it is maintained for more than 5 years. And then we get into the discussion about, well, what is maintenance? We know that the town has not plowed this road forever, you know. So, and I'm not going to tell you that this is a clear-cut one way or another. I'm just saying there's a solution here, folks. Let's pursue that solution and let the selectmen decide, when they have a petition in front of them, whether or not to lay this out as a highway to summer cottages. That's.
Was this an action of the selectmen or a town meeting?
There is no, we went through all, I won't say we, I'll say the town staff went through all of the annual reports dating back to 1893 when the statute for highway to summer cottages was enacted, and they found no town meeting vote to declare this a highway to summer cottages.
Do you have a record that it is called a Class 6 highway anywhere? I couldn't find any maps or anything that showed it as a Class 6. The map the town has online shows it as a Class 5.
Right, and I understand that as well. I don't know where that came from. I can only tell you what my research shows. The maps that designate roads as Class 6 or Class 5, or when you get into the state highway system, 4, 3, that information generally comes from the town to the state. So, and I know that a portion of Pond Road is Class 5. So I don't.
The state has it listed as a Class 6?
Based upon what they were told at some point from the town of Wakefield. I don't know when that was. Or
So Rick, what's the repercussion of us just maintaining the road? If we just said, keep going the way you have been doing it, like what has been done in the past, what's the repercussion of that?
Well,
But we haven't been plowing it.
I'm not saying plowing it, I'm saying doing what they've been doing for the last.
as far as
7 years.
the summer
Yes.
stuff,
Summer maintenance.
summer maintenance, what's the repercussion? Well, if a taxpayer decides that they don't like you spending taxpayer dollars on Pond Road for maintaining it during the summer when there is no authorization to do so, I guess that's the repercussion. I live in town. It sounds to me like the intent in 91, 92, when this was a boiling issue in front of the selectmen to make it a highway to summer cottages, they just didn't do it the right way. And so let's do it the right way.
Ralph?
Would the town, if they're unable or unauthorized to do any repairs out there, would they impede progress if the residents were able to get somebody out there to do the job? I mean, other than the inspection, maybe from a road agent to make sure something like a culvert's pitched properly and headed off properly, could you hold the position that there would be no impedance of that effort? Would the selectmen allow a private contractor in there to replace the culvert without being told to stop? Or you're not authorized to do this or anything like that?
The town has no liability with respect to this road. It's a town road that's owned by the town but not maintained by the town. If private citizens were to maintain the road, which is going on right now because someone's plowing it in the wintertime,
It's only been
you would.
done twice in the last 2 winters.
Okay. Still, there's plowing going on, and there's liability associated with all of that. So if they don't plow it right and someone falls off the road into the lake or whatever, there's just liability. So whatever is done just should be done correctly.
So nobody's going to get arrested if they're out there trying to use the public way?
I don't,
They have to have permission from the town.
Absolutely.
They have to have permission.
Yes.
So I'm asking permission.
I don't know that permission is really going to be needed if you get a petition to the selectmen and they vote on whether or not to lay this out as a highway to summer cottages.
Summer's almost over now, and these folks probably would like to see something done sooner than later.
Can it be voted in a town meeting as well?
For a highway to summer cottages to be voted on at town meeting, the town meeting would also have to declare the road to be a Class 5 road, or would already have to be a Class 5 road, which it isn't, so I can't recommend.
Which I would suggest that it is, because it's been maintained. And now,
But
you
now-
mentioned, we have an argument on what maintenance is, but I've looked at maybe 10 different maintenance books from New Hampshire, UNH, University of Maine, Maine DOT. The first thing in every single one of those maintenance books is grading, because grading is the most important thing you can do to a dirt road to protect the waterways around that dirt road, to help keep that phosphorus from entering the water. So it is absolutely a way of maintaining a road. I don't see any issue that this is not maintained road. It has been maintained within 5 years, no later than 2 years ago. A year and a half ago was the last time. I think, therefore, it doesn't take a vote to turn that into a Class 5 road. It automatically becomes one. I think what we're doing is petitioning, maybe you now, but also to show you that, to let you know that it's happened already.
Let me ask, Rose, she hasn't spoken yet.
I'm just wondering why you're discouraging them for asking for a Class 5 road. Couldn't they go that route instead of the summer maintenance?
Sure.
Yeah, I understand that, but I don't live on that road, and I'd be willing to put my taxes towards it. I mean, and there's a lot of other people in town that feel the same way. That's a very important road to the town, so.
You can certainly petition the town meeting. I wasn't meant
Well,
to.
it does
Hold
sound-
on, I'm talking. I let you talk. I'm not discouraging anyone from putting an article on the warrant to have this road declared a Class 5 road, where the town would then pick up maintenance of it. Those haven't proven to be too successful on a town ballot, and it doesn't seem to be the intent of this room, but if 25 people, registered voters, want to petition and have that article placed on the warrant for March, they can do that. Absolutely.
Thank you. Yes, your name?
Stacy Moore, 118 Pond Road. I'm a selectman over in Acton, and I will say that I think that probably the petition is the best way to go, because you're going to be petitioning these people at this table, not the whole town. Do you want to wait till next year and do the warrant article, and then it may not go through? It wouldn't be that hard for us to get a petition together. You know, we want to make sure it's written the right way, get what we need for signatures, and then come back to this next meeting. When are you here? 2 weeks again?
Yes.
And petition them. If that doesn't work, then we go for the town meeting. I mean, you know, I mean, does everybody, I mean, I don't think any of us want it filed. We just want done what has been done. I mean, I've been there, well, I haven't, I've been there my whole life, but since 1937, my family, you know, has been there, and it has been taken care of just in the summer months, just enough to, you know, get us through. So,
Not to let Tom Farini at Pond Road, not to let you could have the perfect not be the enemy of the good. So we could do the petition, and then if there was sufficient interest in the town with properly registered voters, et cetera, to put it on the town warrant, you could still do the petition to get the problem solved in the short term, and you'd not be foregoing any rights further out in time, right?
Bingo.
That's good to me, yeah. Sounds like the way to go. Anybody else?
And I'd just like to clarify that if it is a petition to the selectmen to ask for that section to be a highway to summer cottages, just one signature is enough. It isn't like the warrant where we need 25. It'd be good to have
Right.
lots.
Yes.
For support.
It would be good to have lots.
But you don't have to have a certain number for the petition to the selectmen. Thank you.
Yes.
Question. Can the selectmen pick and choose? If we call this a highway to,
Sound it quiet.
I'm sorry, Bob Morrison.
Yeah.
A highway to a summer home, and it's granted for Pond Road, does that suddenly open the floodgates to all these other Class 6 roads, which are really kind of extended driveways? And my question is, can you make that individual decision yourselves?
For just this
Okay.
road.
I
Well,
think Pond
anybody
Road is
can
different
petition.
because it's a connecting through
Right,
road.
but anybody else can petition.
Oh, okay, we found that out tonight, but I'm not Okay, but you can make them individual, say yes to Pond Road, no to somebody
Each
else.
one will be a
Okay, with that?
decision.
Okay.
And I think the only reason why we're kind of entertaining this is because of the signs, because it's been done for the last, that's why it's going to be different for each road. I know that the fear was that we do it for one, we're going to have to do it for all of them. But just like he said, he bought the house here, the sign was up, this is what they thought it was going to be. And for some reason, I guess the proper way of doing it was maybe notifying the people that lived on the road that these signs were going to come down and that this was not any longer going to happen. And that way they could have done a petition before September. So that's why we're kind of... Yeah.
One last question. Are we talking about Pond Road from Oak Hill Road to Brackett Road?
I think you need
In
to
its
identify that on your
entirety?
petition. That's one of the things
Okay,
that
right. I mean, there are
petition
people who have built homes in there, and they have kids in school, you know?
Right.
It was a shock to me when they said no postal service on Pond Road.
But that's up to the postal
But
department.
the
and
road
they
is plowed and
should-
standard for the kids to be
They
picked
should
up on the
deliver.
school bus.
But they have to go through the postal department with
No,
that.
she said Oak Hill. it's the whole
Nothing about
thing.
us.
Right,
You said
so,
already.
You need to identify on your petition from what number to what number what you want classified as the road to summer cottages. That's one of the things the petition needs to include.
So where is it right now? I petitioned to build a summer camp when we went to the bottom of the hill on coming off Oak Hill Road. And I built the camp to all your codes. When I got my occupancy permit, decided to move to the top of the hill. So I built the house on a class 5 road, but now, when I got the occupancy permit, I was on a class 6 road, and I was really distressed when I heard it might be abandoned, maintained.
When was that that you built? How long have you been there?
I rebuilt one of the camps on the
Oh, I
property.
see. Okay, John?
Connie, I would think it would be just somewhere the town stops plowing in the wintertime, and then at the other end when they stop plowing, that'd be that section in there is what would be the house.
Right, but it needs to say that on the petition.
Understand it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just have two more questions. Oops, go ahead. All right. I thought, as you were speaking, I thought you, and I'm not sure if I heard this wrong, did you offer to write up something?
I said...
I mean, what were you saying?
If the selectmen want me to assist you, I'm happy to.
All right, so that's, I guess that's up to the selectmen, but it would be nice to have an answer before the vote tonight. Number two, I don't know how it works in the state of New Hampshire, but in the state of Maine, we all of a sudden could not take care of camp roads anymore because of state funding and stuff. We should not jump into fixing anything. I don't know how the laws are in New Hampshire, but once you start fixing something, then we've taken it on as a private road. So just kind of try to hold off.
Yes, sir.
My name's Peter Imler. Family's been on the lake on Pond Road for 93 years. Also have two other properties that border on Pond Road. One of them's a buildable lot. I wouldn't consider building something there at this point with the classification that the road has and the level of maintenance that it's now receiving. And I would say that if they've discontinued this policy that they've had in effect with the signs and everything for so many years, in 1 year, without that maintenance, that road has deteriorated to just such a dramatic degree that the future for that road is, I can't even envision how much worse it could get. I came down it today on purpose just to see, and it's axle shaking, whole body of your car rattling. There are certain areas where you have to come to a complete stop and ease over them, worse than a speed bump would be. And I think most people are looking really to return to what it was. I don't think there's a whole lot of interest, maybe I'm wrong, about plowing in the winter. We just want back what it was and what it was for all those years, and we don't understand why it's been taken away. And as I said, 93 years my family's been on the lake, and I have never seen the road like this. And I've been coming up, I'm not 93, but I've been coming up for 60 some years, and I've never seen it like this, and it can only get worse. In 1 year, it's deteriorated to such a degree, I can't believe it, really.
Thank you.
Thank you again. I think we've made a really good point here. I also have a couple more letters that I don't think you have yet that I'm supposed to deliver.
Okay, good.
I think you can see the level of concern we have and the importance that it is, and I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any more that we can do tonight to get something done faster?
I think the main thing is the petition. It's gonna, that would be as fast as we can. Yep. Yes. I've got my pen and start writing right now. Okay, well, we'll move on.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Good job.
Just don't kick my soda hole. I hope so.
Does that have to be
Rocky? Must be out in the hall, huh? Go first. Okay.
I gotta let all you up so you get my stuff.
So what's going to happen now?
Someone's going to be in charge of
First, before Excuse me.
Thanks, Ed.
Is it Rock House here? Okay, John.
Okay, so a few weeks ago I brought the board two different proposals for two different issues. Excuse me, one was body cameras, one was what we received for the highway safety grant last year, purchase of the radar trailer.
Wait a minute, John. Can I ask you all to be quiet, please? We have somebody up here discussing something with us.
So I have submitted a purchase order for the radar trailer that is time sensitive in order to get the grant funding from the state, which they've already granted. I need to get the purchase order signed.
Okay, and we voted for this, people voted for this in the budget. Am I correct, or was it a separate?
Nope, this was in the budget.
This was in the budget. I have already signed it.
I voted against
Ask
it.
you-
So
That doesn't mean you don't sign it if you've been outvoted. Well,
I didn't
it
support
never
it.
did to any
Okay.
board I've ever been on. Even if I was outvoted, I still signed whatever the majority voted for. And the majority did vote for this. But then again, resigned, so.
I would have signed it if I agreed to it. Now, has it already been ordered?
No. But I just want to point out a couple of things. It is time sensitive, as you. Now, my understanding is that the board serves at the level of the voters. As I'm wrong. The voters, this went through the entire process. The Selectmen during the budget process last year. They went through the budget committee, It went deliberative, went through town meeting, all passed. So ultimately, the voters said, this is what we want. They said, this is what we want. So because of the conundrum we're in, where I need signatures, and we didn't get them when it was here, I need a signature to basically carry through what the voters asked for. That's what I'm asking. I don't think it's, it's a worthwhile piece of equipment. If we don't use this, we, number one, jeopardize future funding through highway safety, because we pulled out at the last second. So I just don't want to jeopardize that relationship.
And I've made my statement clear that we already have one. And we need to start looking at paying the people with, instead of buying things that we don't need. And so me signing this, basically, even though I said I don't agree to it, says I agree to it, right? So they probably should have.
It says you're supportive of the board's decision, in my opinion. Because by not signing, let me go the opposite way. By not signing it, you're unilaterally saying, basically, in respect to Vince Wallace decides what the voters want, not the voters. Because the voters have.
They should have had it here when Lena was here, right?
No,
To
I
sign
haven't.
it.
He voted for it.
Yep.
Right.
Don't we normally, when you vote for it, don't you normally sign it that night?
No.
We didn't have the purchase order that night.
But
I
the fact
wasn't
that-
at that meeting. I was on vacation. Nobody asked me for a purchase order, so it was not submitted. But generally, one selectman doesn't stop from signing when a board votes either way. I mean, if you were one of the people that voted and then you were on vacation, Lino would have had to sign it even if he had voted no.
Is that your interpretation too, Rick?
Yeah, well, so the board, I don't really know anything about this, Vin.
Article 4 of the Constitution gives you your right to conscience.
Excuse me.
Point of order, Madam Chairman.
Thank you.
So the board voted in favor of this purchase.
And I voted against it.
Okay, but the board, 2-1, voted in favor of this. Is that right? I don't know, again, I don't know anything about this.
Can I just be a little more specific? This was already approved, plain and simple. The purchase of a radar trailer was approved back in March when the town voted on the budget, period. The board was only to vote on which one of the three quotes I gave. That was the reason for that. And we somehow got into a discussion that night that it wasn't necessary. The people have already decided it was necessary. They said, you asked for it, people were going to give it to you by way of your budget. People had opportunity to speak up at the deliberative session, which I know you were a selectman, but you're a resident, and there wasn't a peep about this. So this has already gone through the whole process. I'm just asking for a signature to stamp approval to purchase this that's already been approved.
So I don't know what this form is, purchase order.
Our purchasing policy requires that purchases over $250, $1,000.
$5,000.
$1,000 needs a purchase order. I can sign up to $4,999 if it's budgeted for and approved. $5,000 and over requires a vote or a signature from the Board of Selectmen. But as John said, it passed in the budget. It was disclosed at the budget public hearing in the deliberative session. It passed in the budget. He brought it to the board just to have them vote on which of the three proposals because it was over, I believe, $10,000. And so the board voted 2-1 while we had 3 selectmen to do this. If John unilaterally went out and purchased it, he would be in violation of our purchasing policy, even though it's already been an approved purchase. I mean, the only thing he would be in violation of is the purchasing policy, but the board and town meeting approved it. We just don't have that third person to sign a purchase order. And generally,
Yeah, because it's time sensitive,
board
you can't
signs
wait.
it.
Yeah.
So it seems like a ministerial function at this point to get 2 selectmen signatures on this purchase order. Your policy says that 2 selectmen have to sign a purchase order.
It says the Board of Selectmen, so it's
Have to
It's
actually
silent
sign a
as-
purchase order or approve a purchase?
sign the purchase. It just says Board of Selectmen, it doesn't give a number. But I have consulted an HMA on my own, explained it, and they said, well, you're right on the fence. My argument was that when you're on the fence, you look to what's the history. Same thing you do with a contract. Well, what's the history of the parties? Well, we have purchased items here with one selectman signature. I'm just trying not to go afoul of the policy, so that doesn't come back to bite the police department in the end, that's all. But if it's not gonna go afoul of the policy, and that's the agreement of this board here, and he doesn't wanna sign it, and I can purchase it, great.
Okay, yeah, do you want me to speak freely? I mean,
Sure.
I'm sort of the town attorney.
Everybody else
so-
does, sure.
The action of the board has already happened. So the board has already agreed to purchase this, from what I understand. Again, I know nothing about it. You know, I can't force Vin to sign this.
I would say if she approved it, she could sign it. Why can't they just go with the one? Because he resigned.
Well, if you're okay with that, I mean.
I'm okay with it, I just,
Yeah.
quite honestly.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it, but I don't want to sign something that I didn't vote for.
I'm not trying to force you, I'm just saying what I do, but if I'm being told, go ahead and purchase it with the one signature, then that's what I'm.
I'm not gonna, I don't have an issue with it, but I'm just not signing something that I didn't approve.
Okay,
Period.
then it sounds to
To
me,
vote for the police budget at the town?
I'm not sure.
I think I have.
it sounds to me like, you know, the selectmen voted for this purchase, you got one signature, Vin isn't gonna sign it, because he voted against it. I don't think there's any repercussions here that I can see.
Let's go with it.
And it's again a ministerial function.
Mhm.
Perhaps
Okay.
I'll change the policy.
No, change the policy. Is that all I have?
The GPS, Rob?
Yeah.
Talking about the GPS, Director of Public Works and the GPS for the vehicle.
I brought stuff with me too, because I'm not a whole.
Okay, good.
I'm not real familiar with what's going
Yep.
on with that, so.
Travis?
No problem. It's not helping.
Hi, Brock.
How you doing? Sorry. Can't imagine what's not working.
Okay, Vin wanted this on here, he wanted an update of the GPS.
To be honest with you, Ben, I haven't had time to.
I get it.
And I have,
Right.
this is the first time I've talked to the chief, so.
And the last time we talked, we were like 30 days out, and you were gonna decide who you were gonna go with, so I'm just kind of wondering where you were at with it.
I don't have an issue with the GPSs as long as it's being monitored, maybe, let's say just by him.
Ironically enough, I received an email yesterday from Verizon, inquiring, they said they just learned that Mr. Nichols was no longer there, and, like I read on my phone. So, I'm happy to look back into it for the town. I was under the impression that it's installed, I didn't hear back from the highway department at that time. I think there were a lot of other things going on, but, there was just a lot of issues.
Right.
So I think it got by the wayside, not on purpose, or, and that I just think it went by the wayside. So it's not, and his preface was, hey, because he's a smart guy from Verizon, he knows about it. Hey, since budget season's coming up, you guys want to try to introduce it into the budget. And we still have all the information on the cost, the equipment, as far as I know, you guys researched the equipment for your vehicles.
Yes. So Brock, the reason why this is brought up is because we were getting complaints on the guys speeding and
Right.
people, they're kind of protect the guys because they know they can't go so fast in these trucks.
Yeah.
That we decided we were gonna do that. So then we decided that the police department and the highway department were gonna get on board with it.
Okay.
And then the last I knew, the chief was going to talk to another, not just, I don't know, AT&T.
AT&T, and they, quite frankly, never happened.
So why don't we just go with the Verizon, because you said you liked the Verizon, so.
I think service-wise, Verizon's probably gonna be better.
So I'm just trying to get an update because this keeps dragging out. And now before we know it, we're gonna be into winter, doing it again.
Well, I can make plans with you when we get together. I don't have an issue with
I
it.
can say that I remember that the turnaround time Installation and up and running is estimated in days.
All right.
So, literally, we just met tonight, so. So if he and I can get together on this, we got a lot of things to talk about. We'll put that on the list.
Can we have a date of when you guys could do that and get back to
I
us?
can get back to you at the next selectmen's meeting.
All right, great.
And I'll get with him in the meantime.
Also, just put that on the agenda.
All right.
Yep, that's fine.
We should just have a list of the equipment that we
Yeah,
needed for our
exactly.
trucks.
Yeah. And the new truck should come equipped, ready to be for that
Yeah, these-
technology
okay.
anyway, I would imagine.
Yeah, these are gonna be tapped into
Yeah.
the diagnostic ports.
Right.
Yeah, I'll put
Pretty
it on
simple.
the agenda.
Good.
All right, so we could look at it next meeting and
Yeah.
we could be looking at setting
Yep.
up to get them put in.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're all set.
Do you want to talk to them about putting Brock and John and transfer station in a room about trucks and Russell?
If they can, I mean, I guess they can hash it out if they want, yeah. I mean, you know.
Okay, I'll talk to you guys about it tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
I think that was it, basically.
Unreleased.
There is one problem. Well, I guess you can.
Can you talk about the cost to provide copies? Do you mind if we take that out
Okay,
of order?
yeah, we can take that out of
The
order.
reason I put that on the agenda is that the Board of Selectmen has set the rate of copies at $1 a page, and that has gone through court on right to know requests is unlawful or exorbitant, and so Attorney Sager told me that 25 cents was unacceptable per page price, but I need you to reset that, and I think if we reset it for right to know requests, it should be for everything.
Sure. Should be.
There was a Superior Court case that justified 50 cents per page. There's pretty much no question that 25 cent per page is justifiable.
Right.
The courts still charge $1 a page, but I don't like that because I end up getting a lot of copies and it costs me a lot of money. So if you guys want to reconsider your $1 per page and do something different, great.
We don't have to reconsider it, right? We can keep it even though the court, because the court charges $1.
Yeah, I don't know that the court is under the same rules
No.
as
Okay.
town, so.
I don't have a problem with 25 cents.
sitting on, don't do as they do.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Right on, Tom. I don't have a problem with 25 cents. What about you, Vince?
No, if they're saying case law is $1.
Well, you can make
No.
it 50.
Case-
50 has stood up.
There's a
50
Superior
cents.
Court case.
I'd say keep it at 25.
Yep.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
So then, oh,
Can you guys vote so I have it officially?
okay, make a
Copies.
motion, we do copies at 25 cents a copy.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Now, can we go to, I was just thinking about this one here, I didn't know if you have anything on that.
I don't know if I know anything about it.
Okay.
The shed
Well-
boat launch? Is that the shed boat launch?
No,
No.
no, this, the next one is the shed. I thought Wayne was gonna give a letter.
Wayne gave us a letter, and so did,
I have one
Victor
from
Gennaro.
Victor, but I don't have one from Wayne. Okay, we're gonna do request for a shelter shed at the town boat launch. Was that you, sir?
Does that mean I should get out of here?
And you can,
As much as I like city.
Well, we were here last time and we had a discussion about the shed boat launch. The shed is for the express purpose of improving the working conditions for the young people who sit out there, as I said earlier, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, 12 hours a day, inspecting boats. And We had some discussion, whether we agreed that something was going to be decided for next year. This year's late, obviously. The question came up, and I said that we'd be amenable to taking it away at the end of the season and storing it someplace for the winter. I think everyone seemed to be okay with that. I mean, you mentioned that you thought the Parks and Rec director was opposed to it for some reason, or we're going to defer to the time.
Yeah,
She's
she's
gone to get it.
He's opposed to.
But I will read this from the Shoreland. In regards to adding a small structure on the town boat launch property, please refer to Wakefield zoning ordinance Article 3, Table 2, minimum setbacks. Sideline setbacks for this parcel is 10 feet, and the shoreline setback is 50 feet. There is no way of meeting these setbacks. Please reference Wetlands Park Environment 1405. Period 04 setback for accessory structures. All accessory structures built after November 26, 1996 shall be set back at least 20 feet from the reference line, water's edge, unless otherwise approved by the department in accordance with RSA 482-A and rules adopted pursuant ENV-WT 100-800-800. In my opinion, this structure would cause more harm than good. Besides not meeting state and town setbacks, the structure's roof could cause runoff into the lake, and we would have to deal with stormwater management and have to do drip line trenches, and there is just not enough room to this. You were going to get the size, right?
No, the size was, according to the gentleman who was here.
Oh, yeah.
He
It's like
mentioned
5 by
it.
5.
Quite small, yes.
This letter is from Wayne Robinson, Parks and Rec Director. This letter is in regards to the proposed shack at the Level Lake boat launch. Let me start by saying the lake host at the boat launch is something that is needed. I am not in favor of the shack for a few reasons. It doesn't fit in the current setbacks. Already space is very limited there. Vandalism, maintenance, who will maintain it? We would be setting a precedent for other lake associations where we have other boat launches. I personally think it's best to use a pop-up canopy. That way, any of the people doing the checks would be able to enjoy a breeze but be out of the sun and rain. They are easily put up and down by one person and are inexpensive. They fold up so the host could put it in their back seat. If someone was in a small building with no electricity, I would think it would be even warmer inside the shack and it wouldn't get used that much. So those are two Shoreland Director, Code Enforcement Shoreline Compliance Officer, and Wayne Robinson, Recreation Director. So,
What can I say?
Yeah. How do you feel about it, Ben?
I guess I get why they're doing it, but to me, I know how hot it gets in my shed, sitting out in my yard, and I do have those pop-up 12 by 12 or 10 by 10. They can be anchored down. I think those would be cooler, and that they're easy to take up and take down. You don't have to go through this, the watershed, the runoff, and moving it back and forth. The other thing is too is wherever you're going to put that, there's going to be like a lot. It's already tough enough to get in and out of that ramp by the blind curve there. There's not a lot of room, but I would suggest. Matter of fact, we had a tent upstairs last night for voting. That I'm like, that would have been perfect for them. It actually encloses, but it lets the air flow.
No, that was for voting.
I know. So what I'm saying is, I think that's more practical and probably be better as far as keeping it cooler for them.
I'm not married to the shed per se.
Right.
But I'm a strong proponent of improving the working
Sure.
conditions of these young people.
Right.
I mean, your sons and daughters are out there, and
Right.
they're the last line of defense for milfoil infestation.
Absolutely.
And what can we do to do that? So if we have one of those tents, are you saying we must take it down every night?
Well, I think you'd want to, because if you get a storm that comes in, like a heavy
high winds.
thunderstorm, it's gonna just twist those up. They're really easy, I put them up and down myself, so if I can do it, anybody can do it. And they have like sandbags that go around the bottom of them, you just Velcro them and it weighs it down. And you can just put that in your trunk when you leave or whatever. That's just, if you wanted to, I guess if you wanted to leave it and take the risk of it, somebody stealing it, or, but I would,
But so, I'm not trying to belabor the issue here, but if we were to do that and toss sandbags and anchoring, could those be left overnight? I mean, you're not expecting these kids
You
to
don't
put
want somebody-
sandbags in there. I think I'll run the risk of
if you,
someone else stealing sandbags.
I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
No,
I mean,
no.
we're not trying to make it more difficult, but I'm just saying if somebody wanted them there the next day, then they might want to take them with them. But if not, I wouldn't have a problem with that. And actually, to tell you the truth, I have like 4 of them, and I'll donate one to you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You
Yes,
know,
John?
you could take and put that pole, say it's 3 inches back, put a steel pole in the ground, let it sit like flush. You can set that down in there, sleep, and then crank it up, and you're done.
But the problem with that too is the sun moves, so you're gonna want to move that tent. Or you're gonna
No,
want
you
to
get one like up the store there where you got a tip to it. You get one of them big
Oh,
umbrellas
like
with a
an
tip.
umbrella type thing.
Yeah.
But
It's got a-
if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But I'd be willing just to. I have a 12 by 12. You guys are welcome to have it and see how it works out. And that's fine. Thank you. You're welcome.
Be in touch in the spring.
Yeah, absolutely. You bet. And actually, I know one of the kids that works for you, so I'll be in touch with him. Thank you.
Thank you.
John, I can even put one of those on the top of your loader for you if you want. To sum up
Traffic
your-
Regional Planning.
Skipping the second part of your agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. Unscheduled matters, public comment. Yes, Ralph?
I saw a list of agenda items requested, and our town administrator had let me know that the personnel policy will be in part of her report, town administrative report, whereas as it's on that part of the agenda, I would like to ask the current board their feelings on the personnel policy and whether or not all of it applies to all of employees. You know, there's a couple of spots where it talks about how every employee could be a reflection of the board of selectmen, could be a reflection of the town in an entirety. And there's a list of people, or not people, there's a list of things that every employee should be courteous to and be respectful to. And the public's in that list. So I'm hoping that the Board of Selectmen embraces the personnel policy as it is, enforces the personnel policy as it is, and understands the personnel policy as it is. It seems an awful waste of print to have words on a policy and not have them applicable to each and every employee. And perhaps sometimes some of those policies should be applicable to us, to elected officials as well. Thank you.
In answer to that, I would like to say that.
Just a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes. Farmington, New Hampshire just was involved in a court case with, I believe, a Morin, M-O-R-I-N, in the a group, and they backed down from the social media aspect as an infringement of federal rights. Might just look into that.
Okay.
So it came up in December.
I don't get the statement. I'm sorry. Can you clarify that?
Yeah.
Restricting voice on social media for town employees
And town elected officials.
and officials.
Okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay.
I think, yeah, there's definitely a case on that. So.
Yes.
And I think we're running with that.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about that Wakefield's been thinking about doing policies against social media, and it's been brought up to some of us that we can be on social media if we want to be involved with the politics. And that is actually, they did win their case.
Yes, I would like to stay as far as the social media goes. I am certainly hoping that the board will back their employees. If somebody wants to bash us, lie about us, call names, go after our family, we should have the right in our own time to protect both our image, our families, and I think that there are certain aspects in this town who are hoping to use that policy to bash us and then get away with it. Now, I've been accused of threats, which the police have said not happened. Okay? The police actually told me that the person who was going after me was the aggressor. Now, I have a right to defend my name and my family. If somebody wants to put lies on social media, then they're going to have to put up with themselves. Now, while I'm in the town uniform, I have absolutely no problem being respectful to anyone. But when I am a citizen, I have the right to protect my family and everything. Some people take the freedom of speech a little too far and go after people. And I, for one, do not put up with bullies. That's my statement.
Wait a minute, Kelley?
So I've seen posts on Facebook that says that some veiled and some not so veiled, that I have gagged public employees, that I have instructed public employees that they're not allowed to be on social media. There's a state statute, and I've made the selectmen aware of this, RSA 98-E:1, freedom of expression. Notwithstanding any other rule or order to the contrary, a person employed as a public employee in any capacity shall have a full right to publicly discuss and give opinions as an individual on all matters concerning any government entity and its policies. It is the intention of this chapter to balance the rights of expression of the employee with the need of the employer to protect legitimate confidential records, communications, and proceedings. And then 98E:2 says interference prohibited, which is what I would be doing if I ever promulgated such a statute or such a rule for them to approve, which I have never done. No person shall interfere in any way with the right of freedom of speech, full criticism, or disclosure by any public employee. I'm telling you right now, I've never done it. I have no intention of doing it. I have discussed with, I believe, former DPW Director, Mr. Nichols, that Facebook can get out of hand, and perhaps he may want to make some of his pages originally. And I think this was my week number 2 when I was here, and I said, if comments get nasty or you don't think you can manage them, then you may want to make your Facebook post one way and just tell people where you're plowing and not take comments. But I did not ever give him a directive that he had to do that, and I never will.
Personally, I think if there's laws that protect people out there, and if the law has been violated and you feel threatened, you feel that's the police department. We can't intervene in what's going on Facebook. You go on Facebook, you're taking a risk. You're responding to these people. We're all adults in this town. And for instance, you see all the stuff that's going on in town right now, bickering back and forth. But then we get an incident like we have a person right now that got involved in a motorcycle accident. And you see how Chris Allen who got in a motorcycle accident just recently. And you see the town come together. We need to have more coming together and have some face-to-face discussions and be able to talk to people. But as soon as you go on Facebook, and I'm guilty of it, I've done it, and I've been staying off of it. I've gotten myself jammed up before, and I get it. It's easy to sit there, and you're never going to change somebody else's opinion. No matter, all right, I got this one, I'm going to type this, and it's going to get him. Nope, because he's going to come right back with something else, or she's going to come back with something else. It's like trying to change a Republican to a Democrat. It's not going to work. So what we need to do is stop the nonsense. We need to, people have their own opinions, but when you respond to somebody else's post, you're opening yourself up. So I think everybody has to take a little self-responsibility. If somebody's being threatened, I won't stand for it. I've already said that. If somebody is trying to intimidate somebody else, we're not going to stand for that either. But there has to be some self-responsibility in this. Okay? I've read the posts, some of them, and it's really kind of disgusting. We need to start coming together as a town. People outside of this town are reading these posts. Okay? We are the laughing stock of Carroll County or Stratford County. I'm glad they're reading it for entertainment purposes, but anybody that's looking to bring a business into this town or build or bring housing into this town, you think they're going to look at that and say, what the heck is going on there? So just think about that when you want your tax rates to stay down and you don't want you don't want businesses to leave and to keep the tax rate down. Just think about that. If we can all come together somehow, then maybe we should have the discussion, talk to each other, and in a civil way. I really truly believe that there's no way that you can be baited. Anybody can be baited into these conversations. So I would just plead to you, please just remember you love this town. Everybody said it's a great little town, but when that says Wakefield, I don't care if it's a personal page or if it's a personal Facebook group, it says Wakefield, you're representing that. So I would just say get over it, move on, suck it up, and represent the town the way it should be represented.
Then I'll go online and apologize.
That's it. Okay? That's all I'm going to say.
And what you do in your personal life, we have no jurisdiction
Right.
over. Absolutely.
So,
Ralph?
I don't think there's even a section in the personnel
Just one
policy about
can
social
bounce.
media. Is there? I looked for it, what I hope is understood here, that my comments earlier have nothing to do with social media. I'm talking about the personnel policy, and I'd like to make that clear.
right. Well, that's kind of why I brought it up too, because we do.
Communications, but I don't think we
Right.
get into
A lot of stuff's changed since I think it was 2013, and that's why I brought it up to the town administrator to bring it up so we could discuss that these things do have to be updated, and things have changed. Social media on the job, or representing yourself on the job, or whatever. Just things that we have, and we just have to get to it. But the problem is every time we go to get to it, or the town administrator goes to get to it, there's something else that comes in and that has to be taken care of. So the foundation, I believe, for all of this would be the personnel file or the personnel policies, but we can't get to that. And hopefully we do. I just wanted to kind of bring that up. It wasn't an attack on anybody about violating the policy today. I just wanted to see where we were at and how long it was what we were looking at for a projection of starting to update the policies.
Okay, Rose?
And we weren't implying that there was a policy in place. We've just been hearing a lot about social media, and social media is a good tool if it's used appropriately.
It's a good tool, but it's also...
It can be very dangerous, but it's also a very successful in a lot of areas if we use it appropriately.
Right.
And our town has got this me thing going on right now, and I'd really like to see everybody get back united.
I think it just needs to stop.
Yes.
Did you have something?
Yeah, well, at the last meeting, the selectmen voted to open up paperwork, I guess, to accept resumes, so to speak, for the empty position of selectman. Is that gonna come up at this meeting, what the results are?
Not yet.
Is
We're
there a
working on
reason
it.
for that?
The date was the 10th
Yeah,
to have, Monday the 10th, to have them all in.
right.
We have received some, and we are working on it.
And how long will it take to work its way? How many
Hopefully
did you
not
get?
long.
How many actually came in?
10, and one was submitted late, so that was
Yeah.
disqualified, so 9
So you
viable.
get, nine to look through?
And one
Yes.
withdrew, so there's
And at
8.
the last meeting, it seemed like that would be no problem to get down to 2 to discuss what you were gonna do, and
Well,
We didn't
yeah,
expect
we
we
are
were gonna
another
have
week.
that many either, so, I mean, that's gonna take a while.
we did discuss it in non-public today.
Okay.
I guess I could say that we've narrowed it down. But I don't know if you've seen, Selectman Twombley and I we're not always on the same page. And we're just trying to get there. So
Is it gonna happen without any extra help?
we hope not. I don't think either one of us want that, but
Kind of ridiculous.
I agree.
I'm sorry, I spoke out.
I agree. We both agree, I think.
Okay, thank you.
You all.
This is not
Ralph?
an agenda item.
Yeah,
Less than 3 minutes, I just think would be appropriate for the current board to thank all of the folks who are showing interest. It's great that there's folks in town that want to subject themselves to what you folks get subjected to all the time.
by all means.
And I was just going to say that I hope all the people that applied for the temporary selectmen, I see them on the ballot, that the ones that didn't make it, as elected runners. I would love to run against them.
Yep, that'd be nice. Tom, did you have something?
Yeah, somebody referred to a sign and you sort of flashed it by. I think it'd be good for people to see what the sign that was
Sure.
removed said.
Yep,
So, you know,
nope. Yes. Nope, he wasn't.
and it clarifies what people were talking about.
Can we just move on now to unfinished business? We're gonna have to start adhering to what our unscheduled matters public comment is, limited to 3 minutes and agenda item. The selectman position was not on the agenda. I allowed it, but let's try to adhere to what our agenda says. Stratford Regional Planning Commission.
Excuse me, I'd like to apologize, but I didn't know whether it was gonna come up under Selectmen's work session down at the end. So I asked the question, I'm sorry.
Where is that?
So you have a,
I have a request.
a letter of a request to be, so we have 2 positions open and we solicited interest. And we have a gentleman that's interested in serving.
Okay. This is a letter from Evan McDougall. He would like to offer his services as a volunteer to the Stratford County Regional Planning Commission, representing Wakefield. He is a retired Army and USCG pilot officer, originally from Sanford, Maine, currently employed as the airport planning manager with Hoyle, Tanner and Associates. I have previous experience as a member of the Sanford, Maine Planning Board and as the airport manager at Sanford Seacoast Regional Airport. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. He's the only one that applied.
And we actually have 2 openings, so.
Only have 2 openings. So,
Make a motion to accept it?
second, all those in favor?
Aye.
We accept Evan R. McDougall.
Is this you, Mr. McDougal?
That's me.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for volunteering. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I've been questioning it ever since I started listening to this earlier.
Yes.
You'll do a good job.
Thank you.
If you have come else tomorrow, I'll get you some information and I'll talk to regional planning about your appointment. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, new business. CAI Technologies GIS Internet Services Contract.
Wait, don't you want to talk, wasn't there a highway department building inspector vehicle?
I thought we were gonna take that off.
Yeah, they were gonna talk about that themselves.
All right.
Yeah.
I just didn't know, I do have the quote to fix the new vehicle, I didn't get to tell you that it was $2,037. I assume you do not want to fix that.
Okay. CIA Technologies.
So this is for the maintenance agreement for our GIS. And it's the same contract we've had, how long have we been, 3 years?
We've had them for a long
A long time.
Right.
And the contract is not increasing this year. It's the same contract we've had.
Good.
They update all of our street maps and keep the land use department kind of running on the GIS side, so we're happy with their service right now. Cindy uses them in the assessing department and the land use department uses them, so. Do you have the original contract? And you can either authorize me to sign it or you can sign it. It's got 3 lines, so you guys might as well sign it if you're okay with it.
Motion to accept. I make a motion that we accept it.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So it has been signed at both pages. Okay, proposed CRF expenditures? Have none? And correspondence. Neil Road, R.E. Bonnyman Road.
So this is a letter we received last time. It came in after the deadline for the agenda for the 8/22 meeting, and then you postponed that meeting to 8/27. So I think I spoke to you a little bit about it, and the agreement was that you would meet with stakeholders. Selectman Wallace was interested. I believe you were also interested. The DPW director, Sally, I assume Sally Sewell from New Hampshire DES, who has been involved in work down there, UNH Stormwater, and then Linda Shire from AWA, I thought were proud, and then, of course, Mr. Rowe. So I kind of put this under correspondence this week to get us talking about get some dates together. I spoke to Mr. Rowe yesterday?
Yeah.
Or Monday? Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
And just to see what was good for him. Fridays I know are better for you than some other days, but this Friday we have the bridge management program, so I was looking at Friday the 20th.
So I would say I would concede, because she's the liaison for the highway department, she wants to be there.
Okay.
So I'll just get whenever she finds out, then I'll just, that way it doesn't have to be restricted to Fridays, or we have to post it as a meeting or something.
Okay.
All right?
Okay. Well, I kind of reached out to Sally Sewell and Linda Shire because I think their schedules are as constrained as yours are, and they are not available on Friday the 21st. So I don't know how you want me to proceed from there. Like, do you want me, we're going to start losing the light on the evenings. I think it's important that you be able to see the whole thing. I would say it would take at least an hour. You tell me what you'd like to do. I mean, if it's just you and Brock, I don't think that we need some expertise. Clearly,
I would like to have DES there.
So do you want me to reach out to them and give them a couple of weeks and just have them give you 3 or 4 times and dates and see?
Yeah, that would be good.
Well, I can see how I can get them all. Now, they did say they'd be available for a conference call if you want to talk about it, but I kind of think that it's more involved than that, and it would be very difficult to do that over the phone without, looking at it and then looking at the map and how many houses we're talking about. And so I will get with Brock, our new DPW director, Sally Sewell from New Hampshire DES, UNH Stormwater, and Linda Shire. I'll get them to give me several days and times over the next 2 weeks and make sure that's good for Mr. Rowe as well, and try to expedite a meeting.
Are we gonna have a third selectman by then?
I don't know the answer to that. Would you like to wait until we have a third selectman, or would
Well,
you rather?
I thought there would be one today, but
Okay.
obviously that didn't happen. And It's been going on for a while.
It's your call, I mean, we can put it off,
Well,
but
if
if
it's
the
gonna
bad
take,
weather comes.
if it's gonna take 3 selectmen to vote on anything, okay, and you end up with 2, all right, this could go on forever. So I'd like to get a selectman in, all right, that can walk the road, see it all at the same time, one story, no deviations between he said, she said, whatever, everybody's there.
Then I'll put it on the back burner until you have a selectman.
Okay.
Fine. Okay, Carroll County Delegation Public Hearing. Get a letter about that. I don't know where to put it. Ed, did you want to talk about that?
You have to go down the list. We're going to vote on the delegation's going to meet Monday, and we have an additional appropriation to pay for the union contracts. I'm going to try to remember what's on the list. Union contracts. In addition to that list would be the next performance audit. The delegation authorized to be to look into the operations of the county business office. The last one was done in 2014, so we'll do that again to showcase how wonderful everything is. What was the other, what else is on the list?
Market adjustment salary increase for the non-union nursing staff, for the administrative assistant for the county commissioner.
But there's an amount in there.
Yeah, there's.
Yes, amount 18,000, 10,400 for administrative assistant, 80,000 for funding for ratified collective bargaining agreement, 65 for funding for ratified collective bargaining agreement with the Carroll County Sheriffs. The other one was Mountain View community staff. 10,000 to fund a feasibility study for affordable assisted living for county elders. 199,452, the return of excess pro-share revenue to state of New Hampshire to benefit Carroll County and its residents through the integrated delivery network.
So all of this, where all this money is coming from, this isn't going to be additional tax money. This is an appropriation that's going to come out of the fund balance, which is there's a large amount of money. Now, years ago, we didn't have anything left over at the end of the year. Right now, we have a fund balance, so it's going to come out of there. There's a few $1 million in there, so it's that's how that's going to be paid for. You have to go through the public hearing and everything else, and that's what this is for, the public hearing.
So the public is invited, encouraged to attend, to offer comments, to ask questions.
Monday at 9 o'clock.
September 17th.
Monday at 9.
9.
Now, the IDN pro-share money, this is going to be a sticky issue because the county gets money back for the pro-share Medicare, Medicaid, and what's going to happen is normally the money's supposed to stay in the county, but the state has come up with a HHS, Health and Human Services, has come up with a way of asking the individual counties to send half of that money back to the state, where they will decide. See, you made that face.
Yeah.
Back to the state, so they can decide where it can be used elsewhere. Now, I'm against this, and a few other delegation members are, because the money should stay in the county and be in control of the county. Now, if this was an elected body that we were sending it to, and there was a check and balance to it, that may be different. But this is an unelected board that's going to decide where this actual money goes. So,
And can it only be for the IDN program, or can it be for anything
anything for the IDN, which would be the opioid, the addiction services, and there's a portion of money portion of the money is going to be matched with some federal funds. So it's going to enlarge the pot. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get more money into the areas of the state that's needed. But,
But if you vote to send it back, you can't earmark it specifically for something for Carroll County's
No,
opioid.
correct.
Okay.
And that's where I think people are having a problem, is that, the money, the delegation is supposed to be in control of the money of the county. We're not supposed to be giving that money away. If a nonprofit came to us and said they need funds, and they offered it, and there was a public hearing and everything else, then we could vote as a delegation to give funds to a certain group. But it doesn't happen in this case. It's going to kind of circumnavigate that. So I think we're having a problem with it. Other counties have, some counties are having a huge opioid addiction problem, even worse than here in Ossipee.
Yep.
And some of that money would be good for them to use because it is going to be matched with some federal funds. But I think it should be staying in control of the representatives that are in the county. Oh, and the adult, the assisted living. Okay.
Feasibility study.
Why do we need a study when the free market just recently up in Conway decided they're going to build assisted living facility because it's needed? Why are we spending $10,000 on a study? Like we need another study.
Yeah.
It's not even a survey, that's actually a study. So that's
Let's
going to
build
be
that one and fill it and then study how many more we need.
Yeah, and what happens usually is studies.
Yeah.
Don't really know why that's.
Right.
And the other, like I said, the other business with the union contract, that has to be funded. And I believe the delegation, we were able to secure a delegation coordinator. So we actually have like a secretary and a coordinator. And I think in turn, the business office had requested an administrative assistant to help them in the office. And the audit, I'm sure you've heard of my situation. I have 2 complaints, that one complaint was the annual audit was not completed yet, and it's still not completed. And the second one is the annual report. Now, the annual report, I believe you had just gotten, so it was done pretty quickly after I complained about it. The argument the commissioners are making is that the delegation only authorized the use of the auditor, which is required by statute, in the middle of March. So they're blaming the delegation's delay in authorizing the auditor for the completion of the audit. My argument is that the auditor was contracted to do the 2015, 2016, and 2017 audit. It's the same firm. They had to, what happened back in 2014 and 2015. The same firm fixed all those problems, and it seems like everything was fine. So I don't know why it would take them so long, even if the 90 days, the statute says 90 days after the close of the fiscal year has to be done. So even if that started ticking in March, they're still late. And if everything's running so smoothly in the business office, why is that happening? So we're going to get to the bottom of it. The county is in much better shape than it ever has been. And in fact, some of the other counties are so bad, now they're looking to what's Carroll County doing. So we're heading in a good direction. We still have some ways to go, but we're getting there. So, thank you.
Good,
Thank you.
thank you. I have an appointment on Monday the night, so I can't go. But it sounds interesting. Okay, where are we? Oh, yeah, Diana Spalding resignation. Now, we have a resignation. I had them all in order, but I guess I messed them up. Thank you. It says, Dear Val, thank you for the opportunity to work and help out in our hometown clerk's office. I have enjoyed being so close to home and working with such a nice group of ladies like you and Barbara. As you know, I have taken a full-time position in the town of Wolfboro with Pat Waterman. With this new position, I am hoping to regain some time for myself and my family. Unfortunately, I will also need to resign my work in your office. I truly appreciate having the opportunity to work with you ladies and hope that you understand. Warm regards, Diana Spalding. She was the assistant town clerk. Okay, the GWRC bridal shower. What do you have on that?
They would like to serve mimosas.
Yeah.
And that's in their contract with us that we allow small, usually like it's a champagne toast for a birthday party, or it's not usually an open bar or, hard liquor, or, so they're I can't remember the date
down 15th, this coming Saturday.
September 15th, right?
This coming
So-
Saturday.
It's written in our contract that you'll approve it. I just kind of make them formalize that and let you know, so that we know in advance that there's an activity down there with alcohol.
Okay.
You guys are okay with it? It follows the contract.
Consensus, yep, it does. Charter communications. Upcoming changes in charter communications, there's quite a few of them.
I don't know if you want to read this all out, or we could perhaps post this
We
as
already
a,
lost World Soccer, so.
we could post it on our website, as a
Yeah.
banner for a couple of days, just as a kind of, because it
Yeah.
is quite a bit of,
It is.
information.
And
I
there's
can
quite a
also
few
post-
changes, actually.
I can also post it out on the bulletin board, just for interested parties, if
Yeah,
that's
that
okay
would be
with you
good.
guys.
Yep. Yeah, there's quite a few changes. Okay. Public comment number 2.
Is that me?
Dick, you got something?
Finally.
Yes.
Okay.
First of all, I want to apologize for not being put on the agenda because this issue that we'll talk about, it happened a few days ago, and I talked to Vinny, and he said, just show up. So here I am. My name is Richard Riley. I live down in Pinewood Crossing. I work in a substance abuse program for alcohol and drug abuse. And so about 2 weeks ago, unbeknownst to me, I'm sort of the maintenance guy down there. One of our people in-house got in contact with somebody in Massachusetts. They delivered 12 mattresses up to my facility. So I go in, I measure them. They're either 8 inches too wide or 8 inches too narrow. So I said, no, I'm in a quandary. So I just happened to be talking to Warren the other day. I said, what can I do? He said, well, why don't you bring it up to the Selectmen? And if they'll write your letter, he said, we'll gladly take them. Now Warren's retired, but he said,
Yeah.
but that's a process you can go through. So when I talked to Vinny, that's why I'm here.
You want them to be able to go to the landfill?
Yes.
With no charge?
Yes.
I don't know what they charge for mattresses, but
I don't have a clue.
I don't have a clue. Never
I wish
brought
they
mattresses.
contacted me in the process.
So where,
Go ahead.
where is this place?
It's in Dover, New Hampshire.
And Dover won't take them?
No. No, without some exorbitant cost to us. And we're a non-profit organization, so. They asked me to look into it, and that's why I'm here.
And where are you located?
Pinewood Crossing. I had a new
You
home
said that,
built
I'm
down
sorry.
there like
Yep.
14 years ago.
Yep.
The taxes over Milton Mills drove me out.
Mm-hmm.
But they came from Dover,
Yeah.
and they won't take them back.
No, they came from some facility in Mass. They just
Oh.
arrived, and one day I was looking in this room, and there's these mattresses, and they said, "Oh, we got them and so as I was going through measuring them, I said,
Yeah.
I would check.
Are they new or used?
they're used."
I would check with Waste Management in Rochester, because what's gonna have to happen is we just bring them down there anyway.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, so. I
And
mean,
we're gonna have to pay for them?
Yeah, it's not like we could just burn them or anything like that, so
Yeah, we would have to pay for them.
I would
Okay,
suggest that.
we did.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks
Good
for
seeing you
coming
again,
in.
John.
Hold on, take care now.
Hold on.
Ralph might have something.
Yes.
There was a house recently sold up in Ospey, and the lady donated her mattresses to the White Horse facility up there in Conway, I believe.
Okay.
And if they have any value at all, I'm sure that that facility there would gladly take them off your
White
hands.
Horse? Okay.
Yes.
I'll check into that. Okay, at least I have 2 options.
Yeah.
Tipping mattresses.
And this reminded me when I used to be on the planning board down in, yeah.
What, White Horse?
Yeah, so maybe they changed their policy though.
And it may be the condition, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
if the house that got sold had brand new mattresses, that would be.
Any other comment?
Limited?
Limited to 3 minutes. Administrative matters.
So the status of personnel policies.
I think we already went through that.
I am working on them. I've been working on them since after town meeting in April. I think I'm 46 or 48 pages in. I am trying to do them methodically and go through them and take each section. I have had to jump ahead because, for instance, when we made the 3 new full-time firefighters are now 24-hour shifts instead of 12, we had to address their earned time and their holiday because it's not fair to pay them a 12-hour holiday when they're working a 24-hour, so there's been some jumping around, and obviously it is something I wanted to have done for budget time. During the budget work sessions with the Board of Selectmen, I anticipate having a whole conversation revolving around salary benefits, which is also, kind of delineated in that personnel policy. So it's a lot of moving parts, but I'm ticking away at it.
There's only 33 pages.
There's only 33 now, there's 48 already.
Oh, additional.
Right.
So that's why it has to be updated with so many different.
So what I did was I went back in March and April, I went to a bunch of other towns and looked at their personnel policies, and towns that have, more robust social media content, more robust internet usage, some things that we just haven't addressed them at all or touched them in 5 years. So there's a lot of things that need to be addressed and changed, and
No,
some
have a GPS policy
Right.
for the cars.
Right, and there's some statutes of things that we need to address better. The FMLA policy wasn't very robust, so we need to do it. If we're gonna do it once every 5 years, we gotta kind of do it right and try to at least address the things that are open right now. I did want to remind you guys that we have a work session on Friday at 10 o'clock for the bridge management plan. This will be a work session, not a public hearing. It is open to the public because 2 of you may show up. I don't think we'll have a quorum of the budget committee, but I haven't invited any of the members of the budget committee because really the next piece, the management plan, has a lot to do with funding, how you're going to fund it, what your alternative funding. Are you going to do the bridge management program with the state? Are you going to try to go it alone? Are you going to do maintenance and repairs? Are you going to do replacements? What year are you going to do them? Again, do you want to go it alone, borrow, try to save, capital reserve funds? So the engineers have worked out a lot of different ways to do that, and then we'll show you the effects that has on tax rate and how long it will take you to fund all of that. I think they've condensed the 7 bridges into, I think, 12 years. So it's interesting, and he's going to be projecting some stuff on the screen so that around the wall, so we're going to have to move the room around, but I think it'll be a good opportunity for you guys to ask questions. And I just wanted to remind you of that. So we have a request from a butter to a town property for a shoreland permit. He is repairing and rebuilding a stone wall, his retaining wall. He abuts a piece of town property, and part of his shoreland permit requires that he get letters from the abutters, and the town is an abutter to his property, saying that we don't have any problems with him rebuilding his retaining wall. And to the best of my knowledge, they're okay with it. They just want to make sure that the abutters were notified, and he's just rebuilding what he has. He's not enhancing it or getting it in closer to.
Where is it?
So Victor prepared, I actually had Toni prepare a letter allowing it. So there's a setback from property lines. It's our property at, so he's at 129 North Shore Drive, and our property does not have a street number because it's a vacant piece. I think it's the boat launch. Oh, it is. It's the boat launch on North Shore Drive.
Is it the Weeks property? Or the Weeks gifted thing?
Greg Hunter.
No,
Is he the other abutter?
I'm talking about the town.
I don't know which one it is, Ralph. It's on North Shore, and it's the boat launch and swimming.
You think it's off of DM1, John?
What's that?
You think it's the one in off of Dearborn on the right there with the little,
Yeah, Weeks Landing, isn't it?
yeah, must be Weeks Landing. North Shore, it would be, probably.
So Mr. Hunter is currently applying to New Hampshire DES Wetland Bureau to replace and repair the retaining wall at the water's edge. The wall runs continuously from boundary to boundary and therefore requires a letter of approval from the abutters to the state. Please refer to page 4, item 15, permission to work within 20 feet, blah, blah, blah. Victor provided the property card for Mr. Hunter, so you can see the place. You can't really see the retaining wall, but there is a map attached. So if you guys want to just,
So Shoreland's all set with it? and
yes,
She just needs to let us
yes, he's
know.
asked, yeah, and you guys are the owners of the property. for all
Yeah,
of
that's
this.
Weeks, that's that public beach up there. The little park on the side of the road.
I don't.
I don't have a problem with it either.
Okay.
We don't
You
have,
want to sign this letter?
okay.
I think you probably should make a motion to allow or to support the abutter repair his retaining wall.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
And then I just wanted to give you a status update on the L-chip window project. If you remember, we're going to do about half of the windows left to do. So we sent out the first check. We cannot request a reimbursement from the L-chip grant until we do a stewardship plan and a Land Trust Alliance standards and practices adoption. So I have gotten sample stewardship plans from a couple of towns for small projects. I will write them for your next meeting. And then you'll have to make a resolution to adopt the land trust standards and practices that apply to this project. I'm going to print those all offline and let you take a look at them. They're not too voluminous, but they're a little dry. But I can't ask for the first reimbursement until we adopt those two pieces. So I meant to have them for tonight, just couldn't get to drafting them, but I'll get it done for the next meeting so we can start getting our reimbursement.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Okay. And then we have tax collectors collection report. Seems that that's doing very well. Let's see.
Give you a monthly comparison for this year to last year.
Right. This year, seems to be doing better than last year. I'm not gonna read off all those figures, but, we've collected more this year than last year, so taxes are coming in, and it's looking good. Heritage Commission, membership appointment. We have an appointment for Jeannie Longhand, Luhan, Looscan. I don't know.
Laughlin?
Laughlin?
Yeah, I think so. She is silent.
Okay. She would like to be a docent at the schoolhouse. She has always been into history, and she has a minor in history from Salem State. I currently volunteer at the Curran Homestead, formerly Willowbrook, and the Heritage Commission has approved her, and she loves the Wakefield School. She's very interested in it and the history. She does a really good job as a docent. So I make a motion. We approved Jeannie Lohan.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. building permit releases. We have, building permit release for 42 Grant Toll Road, map 143, lot 15.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Connie Twombley.
Right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wow. This is a long time ago.
It's an old form.
Yeah.
Oh. So they don't ever- I wonder if sometimes they just get in the file. Yeah.
Okay, payment manifest.
Yeah, this one's big.
This is gonna be a big one, has the school in it. Let's do the first one. First one is, $91,789.44, and that's the treasurer's payroll warrant.
Motion to approve?
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
And now,
Just a big one.
here's the big one. This one, is $799,618.04. This includes our school payment. I'm just gonna try to find it, see. I don't see it.
The school payment.
Yeah, the school payment. $676,820 to the school. I make a motion we approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And now board minutes. On August 27th. We have, okay, we will go here,
Yep.
because I went ahead of meeting. This
Make
is
a-
from August 27th.
Make a motion to approve the public August 27th meetings.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we have non-public. From August 27th. There's only one place to sign. One,
So there's 1 through 5.
5. Motion, we approve non-public, 1 through 5.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Selectmen's work session. You got anything, Vin?
I just have, like spoke with earlier, one of our local residents, Chris Allen, was involved in a serious motorcycle accident a couple weeks ago. He's been up at Maine Medical since then. The outpouring from the community has been unbelievable, and I just want to wish him a speedy recovery and thank everybody that's taken part in the donations and from the poker run on Great East and all that. And Sasa, who I spoke about a couple weeks ago, is she's home and she's still going through her chemotherapy treatment. So hopefully for speedy recovery for both of them. That's all I have.
Thank you. That's good. We don't have a non-public. Now, the next thing is,
Motion to adjourn.
second, all those in favor?
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for coming.